Why does 11 Jane oh, why do we have an echo? We should not have an echo. That should help. Why does 11 Jane MBB talk like Tarzan, meeting other humans for the first time ever? We see a dozen other numbered kids, and they all seem to communicate normally. She has grown up around those kids, around tons of scientists, around Papa and others that speak fluent English and are highly educated. So she has been socialized and exposed to conversation. So why is she the only one in Stranger Things that is me Tarzan, you Jane? Well, actually, me Jane, so you Tarzan. Congratulations. You have found another meta egg. Thank you for your patience with our slight technical difficulty. I see there's a couple of people like going into the chat room as we speak. Index 6 and Mytho class. Thank you guys for joining us. And of course, the rules are I'm going to need your guys' help. Like this is a participation like exploration here. We have already done as meta egg Easter egg hunts, season 1, season 2, season 3. This is season 4. Season 5 B, I guess we can call it, of Stranger Things just came out a few days ago, and we're going to try to beat the finale. Now, if you guys aren't familiar, it seems that the finale will come out on December 31st. I think it will be in select AMCs on January 1st. I've been having a lot of conversations with my friends lately about their displeasure of Stranger Things. So, of course, I can't wait to hear what other people think. Of course, we don't really care about that here. What we've done in the past is sort of like make our own predictions, make our own um, kind of uh, observations about Stranger Things as a whole, see if anybody else has gotten them, then wait to find out if we're right. And of course, season 4 is just like the other seasons where we just get a ton of exposition and a ton of Easter eggs. So we're going to look at some of those Easter eggs, look at other people's ideas of what they thought were important in season 4, and then hear from you guys as well. One of the things that we have discovered is the Holly. Okay, Holly Wheeler, this is the meta egg thesis. Holly Wheeler is basically the key or the main Easter egg if you put all of the seasons together. In the new season 5, Holly's sitting with her brother Mike. Mike says there's no such things as monsters. Holly goes, I don't believe you. And the reason she goes, I don't believe you, is because she's been in contact with monsters the whole time. Season 4 actually has them use her light box as a little bit of exhibition. We'll take a look at that too. But I mean, it's really kind of just exciting to see that despite all your displeasures with Stranger Things, they have been consistent on their Easter eggs. They had immaculate location management. That is to say that they would put Easter eggs in the background of a room in season 1, and the movie posters would be significant not until season 3 when they would use the same location. So they planned out locations, and they planned out the actors such as Ollie's coming into rotation at a later date. But if you look at those, it kind of gave you a clue to what we just found out recently in the new section of season 5, which is that there's multiple superheroes. Holly, I guess, being amongst those, which we figured out because in season 1, Holly almost gets taken by a Demogorgon. The lights go crazy when Holly enters the room. So we can assume that in season 5, when Mike sits down Holly and says, hey, Holly, your little character that I made you in D&D opens portals and opens doorways. That's probably what her major talent is. And I am excited to see if that's going to play out. I mean, is her like she was been the focus the whole time, because an individual who can open a doorway would have been very important to Vecna according to the storyline. So I mean that's probably the only thing. We still haven't seen Eddie. We had another theory that we're going to go through while we're looking at season 4, because that was the introduction to Eddie. And Eddie was a lot of people's favorites just because the actor was so infectious with the character. And I don't know if our theory that Eddie lives, and we'll go why that theory, why we have that theory during this whole broadcast, but I don't know if we have enough room to introduce Eddie back in just one more episode. So we might have to give up on the whole Eddie theory. But without further ado, we're going to start going through all of these and see what we find. I mean, the biggest thing that I guess to start with would be the whole X-Men thing. X-Men's connotations to Stranger Things has been there from the beginning, really comes into fruition with the Hellfire Club and the introduction of what it was like for the young men, Mike and Dustin and Lucas, to start being in high school. I don't like, guys, I really do think after reading a whole bunch of the stuff that people like, the plot points that don't make sense and the stuff that has annoyed people with season 4, I mean, I think that there's some merit here. Like, I don't know if the ages work. Now, the first season was July like 2016. So this is 10 years, bro. We've had a decade of Stranger Things. And perhaps that has like contributed to the problem with the ages. I've seen a lot of people make season after season make the points that the Duffers didn't know what their plan was and were just writing the season as they went. I think that that's fucking bunk. And I think that if the Duffers did not write all of this at once, I think anybody who comes after the Duffers better write all of their season at once. October 2017 is season 2. And then we jump 2 years to July 2019 for season 3. And then July 2022 is season 4. This is another jump. But there's still some weird stuff going on about who's a senior and who's a junior and who's in middle school when, that I think has some people like pretty mixed up. And I think that that's fair. Past the point that this took 10 seasons to do, so none of these people are going to look the age they're supposed to look. I don't think that I'm fucking crazy by saying that these dudes planned out for individuals who are going to be small to become lead characters in season 5. And Holly is our evidence of that. Well, let me stop rambling here. Okay, let's see. If the answer is because she was traumatized by being experimented on, why didn't it affect the other kids? It doesn't make sense. I don't know. I mean, is it because that she was just traumatized that she couldn't talk? Because she's still doing it. In season 4, Elle's character is still talking like Tarzan. Bro, I don't know. Look, I think I might be offended. Will is looking like teenage Harry Potter. Okay. What, bro, did they go too far with the L thing? If the answer is yes, okay. 2, I have seen other people point this out, but on the subject of 11, if she is so underdeveloped and can't even properly communicate, how is she in high school? How is she in the classes that she is in? She can't communicate and is portrayed as intelligent, but having never done any type of schooling. I don't know. In the beginning of season 4, they make her look more frumpy than anything else. Bro, they make her look like Winona Ryder as Mrs. Byers, excuse me. And that's what I feel like they did. Like, she's friends with the gay guy and the weird woman in California at the beginning of 4. I don't know. Did you guys like season 4? At first, when I first watched it, I was very discombobulated because it had been so long since I had seen season 3. Now going back and watching them all at the same time, the only problem I had with season 4 is that it took too damn long. You can even see this in season 5 now. Season 5, like, these last 3 drops are each an hour. It took it 4 hours of Stranger Things to get through the first drop of season 5. It's taking you 4 hours to get to the second drop. I just finished 4 today, Mytho class. You went back and you just binge watched the whole thing. I always thought Bayer synced up with the West Memphis 3. I think I saw something about Eddie being involved with the Memphis 3. There is like somebody said something about the Memphis 3, which was like, that's confirmed. That was intentional. Memphis 3 Stranger Things. Eddie Munson was directly inspired by Damien Eccles, one of the West Memphis 3 trio wrongly convicted in the 1990s of the murder of 3 boys. The whole thing is around satanic panic, right? The thing that bugs me is they kind of play this up. Like, if you look on the back of Eddie's his jacket, he has a Dio, the band Dio. Music, we'll music here. Music. Images. No, that's not who I'm looking for. Dio Heavy Metal. Albums. We want the cover. I'm probably going to be looking at, yeah, there we go. So there's a secret to these. If you turn them upside down, they literally say the word devil. And they've got to know that. I mean, the whole thing was kind of, the whole Dio thing is kind of, it's kind of a parody in a way. Like, I don't know if he's really saying satanic, but they're putting these little things on Eddie the whole time to kind of marks him as being satanic. Like, in your face. Another instance would be the whole Eddie and Iron Maiden thing. Iron Maiden, Eddie Munson. Like, yeah, here we go. So at the exact time that the season takes place, which is in 1986, there's an Iron Maiden album that has the graffiti on the wall that says Eddie lives. Because Eddie is like, there's a relationship between Eddie Munson, like just their looks and everything, even to the point where during Stranger Things, they're talking about the music. He's like, we need real music. And he's like, this is real music. And he's holding up Iron Maiden, but he's kind of covering up Eddie. Here, look, this is a theory that's been going around a lot. Let's look at this guy. The album cover right there, it says Eddie lives. But like I said, if Eddie's going to live, man, we're running out of time. And it would fall in line with the whole storyline, like of the Dungeons and Dragons comparison. But I don't know if we have time. Like, there's been a lot of play up on the whole Steve Harrington and Dustin relationship, going back and talking about Eddie. But for there to actually be like a dead, rotting Eddie come out, that would be so dope. That would be so dope. I wouldn't put it past them. Like, people have this perception that the Duffers don't know what they're doing. Fine, okay, but it doesn't. I mean, evidence doesn't point to that. People also like point out this whole like Stranger Things screwing themselves out by making this about politics, as far as like homosexuality and everything. And I don't know if I see that also. I mean, I could see where people say that, but I don't think that that's like the main point. Like a lot of times when I try to bring up Stranger Things, people will say stuff like, "Oh, Will's got superpowers because he's gay." And I don't think that's what it's saying. Like in the 1980s, when gays were coming out, it wasn't like an easy thing to do. And I don't think that it's in your face in this point. I understand the whole like overabundance or representations of homosexuality in media. Anybody who says otherwise is stupid. Like if you go back and you watch certain things like yeah, I don't know, it's The Walking Dead. Every other character is homosexual and stuff. And it's like a little overdone at this point, changing all the superheroes to gay or whatever. But I don't think that was the point of Will. Should it have hurt? I don't understand why it's not okay or cool to talk about Stranger Things for some reason. Like, I can understand people saying, like, I've had this whole conversation here with my friends over at the Think Tank. Like, they basically say, okay, this is what someone said today. Every time one of the male characters takes a shot of or of liquid to the face, take a drink. And they also say that girls are bad. Like the main messaging out of Stranger Things is that girls are icky, gross. I don't know. Oh, let's get back. I'm ranting. Okay. We're going to start off with Easter eggs here, having established what we were going to be talking about. But the Stranger Things episode for The Hellfire Club. Elle is bullied at school. Joyce opens a mysterious package. A scrappy player shakes up the D&D night. Are they just reading the... Elle is bullied at school. Yeah, they're just reading this. A scrappy player shakes up D&D night. Warning contains graphic violence involving children. Chapter 2. A plane brings Mike to California, and a dead body brings Hawkins to a halt. Nancy goes looking for leads, and Shaken Eddie tells the gang what he saw. Chapter 3. The monster and the superhero. Murray and Joyce fly to Alaska, and Elle faces serious consequences. Robin and Nancy dig up on Hawkins' demons. Dr. Owens delivers sobering news. Okay, because that's the whole storyline, right? The whole thing takes place in part in Russia. And then the Nina Project is when Elle's trying to get her powers back. Dear Billy, Max is in grave danger and running out of time. Patient at Penhurst Asylum has visitors. That's where Robin England comes into. See, this is again the whole Nightmare on Elm Street. The overabundance of Nightmare on Elm Street Easter eggs really is not even coming into fruition until like season 5. But you have Robert Englund right here. Like they were using these actors from the 80s to kind of represent the sinks that they are putting on the screen. And they are putting sinks on the screen. People think that they're kind of like searching in the dark, but they're showing you, like with the whole King Mob stuff, when they're putting the graffiti in the back and they're putting King Mob, when they're referencing people making like hyper sigils and messing around with magic and stuff. 4. Billy is a grave danger. Chapter 5, the Nina Project. Owen takes Elle to Nevada, and she's forced to confront her past while the Hawkins kids comb a crumbling house for clues. Vecna claims another victim. Of course, the house, like all of Stranger Things, now that I watch it, I know for a fact it is basically a Stephen King novel as a series. The use of the haunted houses when referencing it. At one point, there's a character reading The Talisman by Peter Schaub. The Talisman. Let's look at The Talisman. It is a Stephen King book that came out in 1984 by Straub, Peter Straub. But they're lifting like let's see, this is part of the Gunslinger series right here. In the Gunslinger series, in it and in The Shining, there's this premise that a house has like an entity, and they're kind of gateways between worlds. I mean, you've seen it. You guys should have known this about it. But it's also part of like the Outlook Hotel or the Overlook Hotel. And it's used a lot in the Gunslinger. But they're referencing like the parallel worlds and stuff, and the bits and pieces that they're stealing from King, and the books and the references. And of course, in season 2, Sean Astin basically tells him the story of, hey, I'm from Maine. He tries to take the buyers back to Maine, but he talks about telling this clown that he didn't believe who the clown was. That's directly from it. So they're taking these bits and pieces, and they're doing it with movies too, of course. In season 2 also, they have the tunnels being built on top of what is basically supposed to be the Twin Pines from Back to the Future, and that becomes the mall. So the pumpkin patch is the I mean, they have direct references to the Back to the Future in the pumpkin patch, and then later the Starcourt Mall in season 3 is like put where the pumpkin patch is. So it's a direct reference to Back to the Future. So what they did was they put all of their movies that they liked and all of the books and stuff they liked, and they put it in the, I mean, even when they wrote the script for Stranger Things, they put it in the form of like a Stephen King novel. And that's what they've been doing the whole time. And so I don't buy this whole thing that they didn't know where they were going and they didn't know what they were doing. I think that they had this whole thing basically planned out from the get-go, and then they've been delivering us those Easter eggs that are basically evidence of that, as sort of like foreshadowing. Now, as I said before, I'm not sure if I like Stranger Things or not, but I do think that it is some sort of like sync hypersigil, like the individuals who look at meta Easter eggs, like I do, kind of probably look down on Stranger Things, but I think that it is basically, it is effacing us. Like, I think that Stranger Things is talking to synchromystics. I don't know if it's a good thing. I don't know if it will have an effect. I think that the whole Finn Wolfhard thing, having him dress up as a Ghostbuster and him becoming a Ghostbuster, and having him being referenced alongside of being from Darien, Maine, and then he becomes part of the cast of it. I think those are unintentional, like magic that's worked because of Stranger Things. To show you what I mean, let's see. There's the King Mob. You see the King Mob back here, and there's another one right here that is a reference to Grant Morrison. Those come from a comic book, and where Grant Morrison made a hyper sigil and put him in the comic book in hopes of like creating some magic. He used it as direct like forms of magic that he had read about, distilling things down to what is called a sigil, and then made the comic book what he called a hyper sigil. I feel that the Stranger Things have done just that, by including, you know, Finn Wolfhard in Ghostbusters and Finn in Stephen King's It universe. That's my theory. One of the theories that we had earlier about Holly being some sort of superhero, those basically panned out in season 5, so we got a little bit of credibility, but I'll go through that one more time. If you pay attention to season 1, the Demogorgon almost takes Holly. In season 3, she sees the mind flare go towards the cabin like an Evil Dead, but she's on top of the Ferris wheel, out of danger. However, she knows what monsters looks like. In season 4, they use Holly's light box to communicate with the Upside Down, and the whole exhibition of how Will did it with the lights, the the individuals who are trapped are talking to Dustin and the others using Holly's light box. Holly becomes the main focus because of whatever superpower she possesses that obviously one is after, because he basically let the cat out of the bag and he's like, you guys have latent powers you're not familiar with. Clip that. All right, so let's see here. The dive behind the Iron Curtain, a rescue mission gets underway. The California crew seeks help from a hacker, which ended up being the chick from Salt Lake. And basically war games, like they mentioned war games a lot. They actually said war games at one point, but then they introduced the idea of the hackers thing, which just took stuff right out of war games. Let's see. As Hopper braces to battle a monster, Dustin dissects Vecna's motives and decodes a message from beyond. Man, this would make a great video game. Like, if they just did it 80s style, like mixed, like with the graphics and everything, and just did the scenarios, like the whole scene where Hopper and Elle like close the gate in season 3. That would be like Contra style, right? And then the Dustin figuring out puzzles is like Link or whatever. As just, I don't know why they don't have some sort of video game. Is there a Stranger Things video game? Hopper braces to battle a monster. Dustin dissects. Nancy has a sobering visions, and Elle passes an important test. Back in Hawkins, the gang gathers supplies and prepares for battle. With selfless hearts and a clash of metal, heroes fight from every corner of the battlefield to save Hawkins and the world itself. So Piggyback, Papa, the Massacre at Hawkins, The Dive, the Nina Project, Dear Billy, The Monster and the Superhero, Vecna's Curse, and Hellfire. Okay, so in the newspaper we see Dr. Brenner reading in 1979. We can see 4 horoscopes, 2 of which contradict the other 2. The first 2 are advising keeping one's ideas to oneself, while the other 2 are advising seeking input from others. All seem to be about clever thoughts, fantastic ideas, and ingenuine plans. Interestingly, idea is also one of the crossword puzzle answers. What does it all mean? You tell us. It's a detail. I don't know if I care. Magic 8 Ball. Elsewhere in the flashback to 1979, the young test subject known as 10 uses a Magic 8 Ball to answer an inquiry from Dr. Brenner. This toy was widely available in the 70s and would experience a resurgence in popularity in the 80s, although not until a year after the events of this season, when Tyco Toys purchased the rights in 1987. Don't care. The test that Dr. Brenner gives 10 to test his precog abilities feels a little bit like the rigged flashcard test Peter Venkman gives a hapless guy. Okay. I think they really did that, though. I mean, both of that was the MK Ultra. That's what I mean. In season 5, they introduced another theory. Do you guys know about the M Cave? The M Cave. We should talk about this in season 5, but we're going to talk about it right now. The M Cave. Our list of conspiracy theories is going way crazy. This is 2014. The first season is 2016. I think that they put the M Cave in here. I mean, do you guys know this? Okay. Discussed by astonishing legends. The M Cave incidents, from the crocodile hunter to bear. It seems humans are always in market for a dangerous adventure show. But why should the topic be focused on the median of TV? Let's see. Come on. During his video at the time, 47-year-old Kenny mentioned a cave he was trying to discover. Where he had walked in the cave, he claimed it made him feel nervous and seemed to make his whole body vibrate. He named it the M Cave. Kenny was no amateur, and it came to desert explorations. His biggest hobby was solo hiking in remote and, in some cases, dangerous areas. You need only to look at his YouTube presence to see that the M Cave was far from his first excursion. So, that is 100%, guys. When they are mentioning the M Cave in season 5 and somebody feeling like they're so much fear they can't enter it, that's what they're saying Vecna is doing. And I don't know, like, that's one thing that hasn't been answered yet. I don't know what friggin' Vecna or Henry is doing, like, in the desert yet. I don't know why the M Cave. All I know is that there's like a whole history about the M Cave, and them bringing it up is the same thing that they're doing by naming this thing Montauk and saying the MK Ultra stuff. Like, they're definitely playing with all of these different parts of pop culture, and they're using conspiracy theory also. Fascinating. Right before he went back to look for the M Cave, he left a strange comment on another YouTuber's video discussing secret underground military bases in Nevada. His comment read, "One time during one of my hikes out by Nellis Air Force Base, I found a hidden cave. The entrance of the caves was shaped like a perfect capital M. I always enter every cave I find. As I began to enter the particular cave, my whole body began to vibrate. The closer I got, the worse the vibrating became. Suddenly, I became very scared and hightailed it out of there." How does that not have to do with that? Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's see what's going on in here. Movies are sigil magic. 100. But this is intentional. And I think it will have consequences. A season 3 one, I think. Yeah. Okay. A major trend in gaming and movies was around the time Resident Evil 4 and 5 came out. It started introducing a new kind of T virus that mutates and is more like the horror stuff we see like in season 4. And the same theme goes back to Aliens in the 80s. The one scene in the trailer in the finale is like the scene in Aliens, yes, where they are in the vents and see them on motion tractors. When the bat thing face sticks out of the vent and does the mouth inside another mouth thing, just like Aliens. Good point. You're talking about in the trailer when Dustin and Eddie are trying to cut them off. Alan Turing, the test. Okay, so Alan Turing, we only see L's hero diorama being presented in class. Will is seen carrying it into carrying into school a poster board embellished, and I don't even know, I can't pronounce that word. I don't know why my brain's not working. With the name Alan Turing, the British scientist who, despite his heroics in World War II, was prosecuted for his homosexuality and chemically castrated. That's cool. See, this whole thing about like them, they're talking about the Alan Turing is the guy who killed himself with the apple. He I'm pretty sure that's right. Alan Turing. Apple suicide. Alan Turing, the father of computer science, died in 1945 from cyanide poisoning, with a half-eaten apple found beside him, leading to widespread beliefs he used it for suicide, possibly as a nod to Snow White. While the famous Apple logo is debated as a tribute, though co-founder Steve Jobs said, "God, we wish it were." This goes back to the whole thing of he like Will being gay. Like, they basically telegraphed that the whole time. I don't think that's what they were saying when he became a superpower, though, because we know the other kids have superpowers. We know that now. The other kids have superpowers. A poster of Evil Dead adorns Jonathan's room, released in 1981. The Sam Raimi directed cult horror classic would lead to Evil Dead 2 in 1987. Army of Darkness in 1992, and a lifetime of Bruce Campbell cameos in superhero movies. It also plays into the Nightmare on Elm Street vibes of the season. The Evil Dead movie is playing on a TV, and the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie itself a response to how Raimi put a torn poster of Wes Craven's The Hills Have Eyes in the background of the Workshed and the Evil Dead. So they're playing with the movie posters. That's cool because they say they're doing it back and forth. I like that. I didn't know that. That's cool. Fast Times at Ridgemont High is used a lot in multiple seasons. Steve reassures Robin that her crush would welcome her advance, giving that she returned Fast Times at Ridgemont High to the video store paused at 53 minutes 9 seconds. This, as you might have guessed, is the moment in the 1982 film where the character played by Phoebe Cates removes her red bikini top in memorable dream sequence. Eddie Munson, when we first meet Eddie Munster is a coincidence. When we first meet Eddie Munson, think the name similarity to Eddie Munster is a coincidence. We hear I Was a Teenage Werewolf by the Cramps playing. We hear their version of The Fever a few minutes later, too. Yes, that's common knowledge in the soundtrack list, but people should be listening to the Cramps all the time, but especially around Halloween. So we figured we'd shout it out here. I say, I don't know. There's probably a whole nother hour or 2 hours you could do just on music and the Stranger Things use of music. There's so many things that go by unnoticed. And I think there's a lot of things that go by. I don't know, man. Did they waste their time? Did they waste their time just making this an anti girls are icky? I don't know. I don't think it's that political. I think people are just repeating what they're fucking hearing off of Twitter. The Hellfire Club is named with plenty of historical significance. Wait. Eddie's jacket is repid bands like Motorhead, Wasp, and with a truly awesome Dio patch. See, this is what we were talking about before. Former Black Sabbath and Rainbow singer Ronnie James Dio solo album had some truly legendary Dungeons and Dragons type album covers. So it figures that Eddie is a big fan. The Freaks also have the best taste in music. The Hellfire Club is a name with plenty of historical significance. They're making you think that the real Hellfire Club is involved. But in the context of Stranger Things, it probably means more as an X-Men comics reference. Both the comics and the historical Hellfire Club involve the elites of society. So Eddie has a fun sense of humor naming his club of outcasts that, even as it plays on the satanic panic around Dungeons and Dragons. But the X-Men Hellfire Club were a key factor in Jean Grey's Dark Phoenix story, and considered how often Stranger Things has flirted with those elements in Elle's story, they're probably having some fun with us too. Well, I think it's going to be that's what's happening. I think if they could. I'm not saying they already have, but what the Duffer Bros could do, whether you like them or not, what they could do is create a whole modern superhero club that takes like a series that takes place in the 90s with and call it the Hellfire Club with L and 8, and if they don't kill them off, I don't know. Eddie reads to the Hellfire Club an article from Newsweek regarding the dangers of teens becoming obsessed with Dungeons and Dragons. The cover appears to be from the March 3rd, 1986 issue, picturing Filipino dictator Fernando Marcos and including a reference to the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster just 3 months earlier. NASA's fatal mistake. The article in question, however, was probably adapted from a September 85 Newsweek's piece called Kids, the Deadliest Game about the perils of D&D, and of course was made into Maze and Monsters, starring Tom Hanks, and around the same time period. Let's see. When is Maze and Monsters? 82. Huh. They would have known. Family Video, rental. Yeah, they've gone steadily from the different like D&D video games were the big thing and like the other seasons, and now they're at the video store. In the phone booth at Hawkins, someone was scrawling the graffiti "ET phone home." This joke references the classic 1982 Spielberg film was probably already getting old in 1986. But again, that this is like how much they paid attention to small details. I noticed the whole ET phone home was written on the telephone thing, and I'm like, oh, they put that there. That wasn't like they found an old, phone. They're doing their own graffiti, as we've seen with the whole King Mob stuff. Star Wars. Dustin has mastered the art of referencing Star Wars when, in attempting to vanquish Vecna and their D&D campaign, with a perfect roll of 20, he quotes Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back to his fellow Hellfire Club and says, "Never tell me the odds." This brings up a good point, though. At the very beginning, they're fighting Vecna. Lucas won't go, so they go and they pull out Lucas's sister to play D&D with them. But what they do is they're fighting Vecna, and everybody dies, and they have to get a roll of 20. And this goes and cuts deep into the whole theory of this all having to do with the D&D roll, because 11 plus 8 plus 1 would be 20. And of course, Will has the powers of 1. Captain of the baseball team, Jason Carver, calls out to the head cheerleader girlfriend and tragic Vecna victim, Chrissy Cunningham. Cunningham was the surname of the central family in the similarly nostalgic obsessed Happy Days, whose idyllic portrayal of the 1950s life was still in contrast reruns when Stranger Things takes place. Wait, is Stranger Things our Happy Days? We're in trouble. And perhaps coincidentally, Jason bears at least a passing resemblance to Ron Howard's Richie Cunningham from Stranger Things. Nightmare on Elm Street is packed full, and our younger readers, kids getting tormented in their dreams and subconscious by a horribly disfigured, shadowy foe who becomes the Hat Man. Another conspiracy theory, he becomes the Hat Man in season 5. That's what Henry is. He's Freddy Krueger. I mean, Nancy's name is Nancy because that's the first heroine from Nightmare on Elm Street. Done for them in their mind's manifestation of the physical plane, as well as straight out of Freddy Krueger's handbook from Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Stranger Things Season 4, Episode 2, Vecna's Curse. Plane brings Mike to California, blah, blah, blah. We already read that. Ocean Pacific. Upon meeting Mike Wheeler, Argyle asked him if his colorful shirt is Ocean Pacific. The stoner should have probably called it OP, as the brand was often referred to it as this time. But regardless, the beach-inspired clothing line was popular in the 80s. Hulk Hogan, the cab driver at LAX, appears to have a Hulk Hogan and trading card hanging from his rearview mirror. Hulkster is wearing blue trunks there, which wasn't his more famous yellow and red look he had adopted by 1986. The Last Dragon, working at a video store, Robin and Steve are bound to reference many movies of the 1980s, but one poster made a particularly splashy background in this episode, 1985's The Last Dragon, a martial arts comedy cult classic. Rinko-Rama. Mike, Will, and Ellen visit a roller rink called Rico-Rama in Lenora Hills. Though still decently popular today, the musical skating location was a much bigger deal in the 1980s. Carrie Yeah, there's definitely Carrie stuff going on when she's being threatened and she smashes her head in. VHS classics. Robin wants Steve to watch Dr. Zhivago with her, but Steve shuns movies on double VHS because most standard play VHS tapes held 120 to 160 minutes. The 1966 film's 3-hour runtime would have necessitated switching tapes at some point. A thinkful procedure in the pre-DVD, or thinkless procedure in the pre-DVD 80s era. Family Video is well stocked with classics of this era, though, from Tom Hanks' The Man with the One Red Shoe to Basket Case, Gremlins, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Natural Lampoon's European Vacation. I saw all of those. Lots of pizza symbolism. Do you take that as the time? Because as we've said, what is this? Season 4 would have been July 22. It would have been well after Pizzagate. Deflect the impact. Make believe. In a way, Stranger Things is doing what the film did in the 80s, deflect the impact of the reality of what these sickos are doing and make it believable. There's also this weird thing, man. The flashing lights doesn't, I don't think I like that. The flashing lights are used continuously in Stranger Things to denote when something supernatural has happened. However, if we're considering that that was like the main thing that pop culture got from the MK Ultra program, like you're implying that you're brainwashing teenagers. Like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? You're fucking with people's heads. There's a lot of this, like it's okay to be satanic or something. Like there's, and I mean they do it to like what happens to Max looks like a ritual. I mean, like you blame the kid for rolling up and being like, you're sacrificing them to some sort of devil because that's exactly what they are doing. Robin is able to track down Reefer Rick through his rental history at the video store. The list not only includes a aforementioned Pfaff Times at Ridgemont High, but also several Cheech and Chong movies, most of which were known for their weed-centric storylines. The pair had just released their final movie together in 1985, Get Out of My Room, and they would still be popular among the stoner set in the 80s and the 90s. Michael Myers is used a lot. Eddie Munson's father likens Victor Creel to Michael Myers of Halloween, and then he puts on the Michael Myers because when he wants to leave and not be seen, he uses Max's Halloween thing. So it's interesting that they doubled up on the whole like Eddie Munson's dad, and like Eddie's considered to be the serial killer and not Victor Creel. God. The 1979 film, which already had 2 sequels by 1986, the comparison is ironic given that Creel is played by actor Robert Englund, which we talked about, famous for playing Freddy Krueger in Nightmare on Elm Street, a different 80s. They're mixing them together. Hellraiser, pretty strong Hellraiser body horror vibes when we see Vecna in his realm in the Upside Down, right? We wrote much more about Vecna here. That might be worth. Stranger Things Episode 4. Episode 3, The Monster and the Superhero. Cerebro, of course, that's what he calls the I mean, that's directly from X-Men. That's what he calls his radio antenna. Ewoks, they talk about Star Wars the whole time. The whole time. Will and Mike are seen watching the animated Star Wars series Ewoks on TV. I did not notice. The show ran from 1985 until 1987. So this particular spin-off cartoon was just getting started. We're guessing it doesn't count as Star Wars canon, though. Although the theme tune is low-key great and was performed by blue legend Taj Mahal. Blues legend, I didn't know that. Police Academy 3 is mentioned. They say it sucks. According to Jonathan, Police Academy 3 is now in theaters. Indeed, the release date for the film was March 21st, 1986. the very same day that marks the beginning of the season back in episode 1. Mike and company don't want to go see it, which is probably the right move, as the third entry into Police Academy franchise was not particularly well received. For the record, we do not agree. Watergate. This right here is why I think Stranger Things is facing off to synchromysticism directly. Because we used that term. This episode marks the first reference to Watergate, albeit will become a more literal reference later on. Perhaps the scandal is a point of focus in history class at Hawkins High School. 1986 was an election year, but not a presidential election year. Okay, so I didn't notice that. They mentioned the Watergate in school, and then that becomes a plot point later. That's interesting. Stranger Things Season 4, Episode 4, Dear Billy. Duck Hunt. Erica goes, what is Luke expects to cover from him for another week? He's going to have to get her a Nintendo with Duck Hunt. The classic light gun shooter game was released in April 1984. Well, it's interesting because just in season 5, they say that Steve can't shoot a gun, but he's oddly good at Duck Hunt. Tom Cruise. Nancy was a Tom Cruise poster in a room, and now 60-year-old actor would be just weeks away from his appearing in 1986's Top Gun. Oh, wow. He was already a hot throb to his now iconic underwear dancing scene in 1983's Risky Business, which was kind of a turning point for another season. They mention Risky Business in like the first season, and then they're wearing it as a Halloween costume in the next season. Steve McQueen. Yuri likens Hopper to Steve McQueen, the Cooler King. This is referring to McQueen's classic character, Vigil Hiltz from The Great Escape, about an American who never stopped trying to escape a German prison camp. Billy Hargrove's grave. Interesting, Billy's grave reads as his full name, William Hargrove, and not Billy Hargrove. This is significant because in the first full trailer of season 4, there were shots featuring both the William and Billy spellings, suggesting one of them could have been as part of a dream sequence. That's fascinating. Charlie calls the government guards who set up shop in Wheeler's home Ponch and John, referring to the two main characters of the action crime drama Chips. I remember that. A Little Shop of Horrors. On his bed wall, Will displays a Little Shop of Horrors poster along the film adaptation with Rick Moranis wouldn't arrive until December of that year. The 1982 Broadway play was already wildly popular by then. Elvira. Stranger Things. There was an Elvira? The smuggler's hideout and the abandoned church where Hopper finds refuge features a very unholy pinup poster of Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Although the film of that name wouldn't arrive until 1988, Elvira's movie Macabre, a B-movie showcase that ran from 1981 through 86, was already made Elvira a cult figure among horror fans. The Nina Project. Madonna. Ghostbusters again and War Games. Sherlock Holmes is quoted. The world is full of obvious things which nobody by any chance ever observes. We call them meta eggs. I'll see you in my dreams. On the chalkboard in the mental hospital, we can see the names of several songs. A music therapy is the order of the day by here, and the theme mostly seems to be dreams for obvious reasons, with Vecna and the ongoing Nightmare on Elm Street tributes. We get old standards like I'll see you in my dreams and wrap your troubles in dreams. But one is Glenn Miller's Moon Night Sonata,
which also wouldn't immediately seem to fit the dream theme until you realize it was originally known as Now I Lay Me Down to Weep, which suddenly sounds much more sinister. Red Cells in the Sunset seems to be the outlier here, as we can't figure out how this might fit the theme. They broke it down by that. Okay. Episode 6, The Dive. Um, Extraterrestrial, just peanut butter, which was also ambiguous in the 80s for its ad campaign, which promised that choosy moms choose Jif, implying that if you were buying your kids Skippy, then maybe you should be dropping a dime on your social services or something. And if anyone is a choosy mom, it's Joyce. Pulp Fiction. Eddie says he's pretty goddamn far from okay. Could this be the rare non-80s Stranger Things reference? No, I don't think so. Um. Oh, they contribute the Minox from Empire Strikes Back with the Demigorgon bats that you were talking about with the mouths. They kind of look like Minox. Mythoclass, you listening? Stranger Things season 4, episode 7, The Massacre at Hawkins Lab. As Ozzy Osbourne, Coca-Cola Classic, Be Kind, Rewind, and Skittles. Erica Sinclair has to be brought up to spend in the supernatural history of Hawkins, so she asked the veterans to explain by using the phrase "Be Kind, Rewind." As video store employees, Robin and Steve would be proud. Customers, oh yeah, come on, these are all right. That's good. We got through that. I thought there was one more episode. Let's see. We'll get rid of Den of Geeks here. We kind of use them. We kind of use Den of Geeks a lot. They seem to be really good on doing thorough research on their Easter eggs. And they catch a lot of the same ones that we do. They're a little bit more esoteric. 18 fun facts about Stranger Things Series 4 from Tudum by Netflix. Stranger Things has been a treasure trove of pop culture linchpins for superfans, as the series is a time capsule of the 1980s in and of itself. But for season 4, the production team behind Stranger Things dialed the Easter egg hunt up to 11. Below, we've gathered 18 fun facts about the supersized season that are more metal than Eddie Munson's rings. Okay. At the end of season 3, the hair team initially gave 11 the same green scrunchie that Max wore earlier in the season as a small parting gift for her friend. Oh, that's cool. See, they do that a bunch. They'll change their jewelry. They'll make jewelry pass from one of the characters to the other character. The costume team makes all of the scrunchies of the show so that they match the rest of the costuming exactly. Both the Hellfire story. Okay, what's number 2? Okay, wait, number 3. Both of the overall storylines are, especially the character Eddie Munson, were inspired by the documentary series Paradise Lost. Eddie is loosely modeled after writer and artist Damien Eccles, who was a member of the West Memphis Three. One of you guys pinpointed on that one earlier. The diorama, okay, the Reeboks, right? Made out of a Reebok shoebox. Okay, yeah. So they're just playing off the Reeboks again. A fun little nod to Joyce Winona Riders. Yep, okay. Each key setting this season was a core color palette. California is brighter, lighter, and sun bleached, leaning on pastels. The Hawking colors are richer and more saturated, while the Russian tones are much darker and colder. That's true. 11 wears a ring this season, which is meant to be a little gift from Mike that he would have given her at some point. Okay. 7, if you look closely at Robin, you'll see she has Hawken green fingernails with a paw print on her middle finger. this is what I wanted to show right here. People associate the Kobe Bryant number. Most of these seem to be just like detail oriented. This season, Mike is trying to grow his hair out like Eddie, his new role model. So it's a little longer in the back with short layers. Argyle Surfer Boy pizza van. Of course, you were talking about the pizza earlier. I mean, it's the surfboard is like a Vesica Pisces, right? I wonder if there's anything to. I mean, that's like the whole thing about pizza, right? I don't know. You're probably right. There's probably something there. Argyle Surfer Boy van is how to drive stick, just specifically for his role as Argyle. All right, wait. All right, when Lucas plays for the Hawkins basketball team, he wears a number 8 jersey, which is a nod to Kobe Bryant's first jersey number. McLaughlin is a huge fan of Bryant and had this idea to pay tribute to the late sports icon through his character's jersey. So that's a sync that the actual actor put in there. Lucas's new flat top haircut signifies his transition into a more popular jock, and it was inspired by the hip hop duo Kid and Play that was popular at the time. There, they're showing you the ET phone home graffiti. But I'm telling you, they did all of that stuff intentionally. Of course, they did. Based on Kate Catshaw's hair as Willie Scott and Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. Karen Wheeler, there was a lot of. We should get to like. We're getting off of this. We're going to go to theories here. Let's find some theories. Eddie and Iron Maiden. We've talked about Eddie and Iron Maiden there. Eddie's still living. Theories to dissect from the finale. All right. 1, I like the theory that Eddie is number 10. Like he said, he rocked a buzz cut for a while, and he's always wearing something on his left wrist where a tattoo would be. We know this isn't true. Bunk. Trash. Interesting. Unfortunately, Eddie will die, and it will be revealed that Counselor Kelly is somehow related to Vecna. Only partially true, and no, she is not, as far as we know, related to her. I think that when Max gets taken again, which is confirmed, 11 is going to fight Vecna off and save Max because there's a photo of 11 in the upside down in front of the stained glass door. It's kind of true. I think the season is going to end with them losing, and season 5 will be pick up the pieces. In episode 1, the Dungeons and Dragons is foreshadowing the final battle. This is what we need to get to. They need to roll a 20 to beat Vecna. Finally, somebody's gotten that. They see the same thing. But they'll come up short. I'm hypothesizing 8 will come back to help 11, but they will lose because 11 plus 18 is 19, and 19 is less than the 20 they need to beat Vecna. That, I think, is on point, or at least semi. But now we have Will with 1, so that makes 20. Nancy and Steve will finally get back together. Jonathan will keep on with Mary Jane. From season 5, that seems to have actually, I mean, that's basically what we're going to see is Nancy and Steve get back together. Guys, I went to a play last night. I went to go watch a play, and I discovered while looking up one of the dudes who was in the play, he played in a Stranger Things parody, and he played both Jonathan and Steve. But I found that fascinating. There's a parody play for Stranger Things that they've turned into a musical. Let's see. I think Jonathan will die trying to save Will, and Elle, his character, is growing less relevant as he is throwing his life away. And that's dumb. That didn't happen. I am so sure that Lucas is dying. There is no doubt in my mind. Caleb McLaughlin talks about him in the past tense, and a behind-the-scenes clip with Gaten Martyrs, I can't pronounce his last name, tells Gaten
he used contacts, and there is a photo on volume 2 where Dustin is screaming in sadness. That's because of Eddie. I think Karen Wheeler is going to get involved, maybe more than the other parents, and somehow end up kicking some ass, or at least I'm hoping so. That happened. Somebody had a good theory. Somebody had a good theory. Because that's basically what just happened. She's taking a huge role now. However, she's been there the whole time. I saw another critique individual got into that was like, she's a bad person. I don't like, because of what she did in season 3 with Max's brother. You know what? They're making her to be almost a saint as far as a mother goes. Let's see here. We got some people popping off. Hey, Will, how's it going? Let's see. I was streaming, so decided to pop in to say hi. It's been a while. How have you been? So I don't know what's it all about. Well, the reason why we're looking at it is because it's definitely like they are directing their attention towards synchronicity. In fact, they use the phrase "there's no such thing as coincidence" over and over and over in Stranger Things. So even if you're not into Stranger Things, it gives me the opportunity to talk about meta eggs and talk about synchronicity, because most of the references we would consider syncs, but also like its inspirations come from individuals who are directly interacting with sync, like Montauk and synchronicity, or the John C. Lilly stuff and synchronicity. Like there's a lot of things that we can talk about that give us sort of like a platform to investigate Stranger Things up underneath a sync lens. Okay, not much of a theory, but more of a want. But I'd like if someone other than Elle defeats Vecna. It's always Elle who ends up saving the day, and it's like getting a bit old. Somehow Palpatine's come back. Yes, I know she's the only one with powers, but I think it would be a refreshing story. But now we know all of the kids have powers. All of the kids that he's been taking the whole time have latent powers, and you don't come out of the upside down without superpowers. All right, 10. I think that Will is going to be a target for Vecna as soon as he steps foot in Hawkins. I mean, I don't know if that's like a deep theory, though. Kind of happened. 11. The Upside Down is actually a construct with that 00 Vecna created after being banished by 11. Kind of like this is what they've done. They've kept back exposition the whole time and basically have timed it. So you don't know what the hell's going on. Like you don't know how Will manipulated the lights until you see season 3. And now we know what the Upside Down is and what Vecna's land and how all of that works. But we didn't for a long time. Kids with powers. Let's see. It's about what lurks on the other side of reality with an 80s twist. The Clefo. Good show. Which also breaks away into like X-Men and whatnot with Montauk. Yes. Kids with powers. Can you save the world without a superpower? Not anymore. The story arc was good. Vecna seemed pretty lame until that. Oh, yeah, I see. No problems. What's up? Follow the rabbit. At first, not scary. Vecna's still kind of a cornball character to me. Like the way he moves and everything. When the guy is like totally so super skinny, they have him walking around like Mike Myers or something. I have a feeling someone from Russia group, Enzo, Hopper, Joyce, Murray, will not make it to season 5. My guess is might be Enzo will die and Hopper will contact his son or Murray will die. Murray's still kicking. Steve isn't going to make it. Yes, he's still in love with Nancy. We get it. But that's the big thing. How many are we going to lose? Are we going to lose anybody? I predict that the series will end with the 4 boys still at season 1 age, finishing their epic D&D game in Mike's basement. That is one theory that holds water. This might all just be a D&D campaign. All right, Stranger Things fans are sharing what they don't like about the show, which is explicit. Like, there's plenty of hate going around about this right now. And I think that it might have something, like, I don't know if this would have played out different had they had like 5 succinct seasons. We're talking about these kids growing 10 years and still being in fucking middle school. Stranger Things, 15 best Easter eggs so far. 15, Halloween 2. And I don't see anything else. Let's see. All right, I'm just going to recap then. I'm going to recap and then wind this up. And then we'll do a season 5 here soon. There's plenty of stuff to talk about season 5. I just think that people might be getting a little bit Stranger Thing. Like, I don't think people, like, they're talking about this season being the least viewed. And I don't think that's what you're going to what it's going to shake out to be. I think there's a whole bunch of kids who are probably like within their high school, either freshmen to seniors, who are basically going back and watching 1 and then going to 5. They're going 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they're going to start season 5. And I'd like to see what the past seasons of Stranger Things, what their streaming count is right now. I just I think it's just too long. I think that you're getting this was originally supposed to be like an 8-hour horror extravaganza. Now we have each season being 8 hours of extravaganza. A lot of people say that it's boring. I'm not sure if I find it that. I don't even know if I have a boring setting anymore. But I think that we have been successful in mapping out a certain couple of plot points just by looking at the details and understanding that the individuals who wrote this are giving you foreshadowing way seasons ahead of schedule. One of our main theories is the importance of Holly, like we said earlier tonight. Holly is used in season 1 and season 3 and season 4. Then she becomes the main part of season 5. It implies planning. Let's see. I don't know if it's good or wholesome, or I think it might be entertaining to kids in the same way that Star Wars is entertaining kids, because you're putting small children in adult situations. My other main theory would be Eddie somehow coming back to life and in control of Vecna. But I'm not going to stand by that theory because I think we're running out of time.
Now, I didn't see it in any of these that I was looking at, but I also heard a theory a while back about Vecna's relationship to spiders being some sort of foreshadowing. Because in season 4, there's a lot of implications that he was obsessed with Black Widows and viewed them as like a superior predator that resembled himself. And so people had come up with this theory that Vecna's power is basically from spiders. But in season 5, we see this. It almost looks like the same type of structure as the castle in Dark Crystal, but it's a dead spider. So Vecna's whole base is within a dead spider. And I'm really going to have to think about that as far as what that symbolism means, or how to piece it apart, or like where that reference came from, or if it was a wholesome, like original, because I seriously don't know. Past that, I mean, I think what you see in season 5, what we're going to get is we're just going to get a battle scene. That's it. I think that they've spent their exhibition, except of making it the point that the kids are going to be superheroes. Personally, I think that if you do not like Stranger Things, I would go back and restart it, and I would see what you think again on a review. Because I think that there's a little bit of taint that was added to this series because of when it was released, in the time period of how it came in the political cultural war that we call the 2010s and 2020s. I'll look forward to you guys. As I said before, you can find me on Satori Almi on Twitter. Tell me what you guys think. Tell me if you guys want me to read anything on these. Once we get done with Stranger Things, I'll probably do more Easter egg hunts, just depending on other stuff. So it would be good for you guys to like add suggestions on movies or pop culture that you think is relevant and what you would want me to look at as far as your own theories go. I've started a business selling clothes called D's Unit. You can find D's_unit on Instagram, where I am selling the clothes that I'm designing. I'm an artist by nature. So I'm just making stuff and I'm selling it. And I'm kind of using it as the merch store for Meta Egg and so forth. Guys, thank you so much for spending time with me. I will try to do season 5 tomorrow. I'm probably going to take a closer look at some of the other episodes and kind of reboot. We'll go back to anything that I missed on 4. 4 was a lot. Like I said, 4 was way long. It was kind of a slog. Season 4 was hard to get through. There's a lot going on. There's a lot being told to you. Season 5 is sort of just picked up, and there's a lot of comments about it not being exactly like believable, but they've kept this consistency of like individuals having weapons, sort of like Nancy being good at guns, and now she's playing this Red Dawn role where she's shooting soldiers and stuff. But it has been watchable. If you do it linearly, you can see how one thing builds to another and everything makes sense at the end. As far as their politics and everything goes, I'm not one who talks about politics here, so I could give a shit about all the gay stuff and superpowers coming from gays. If you say that, it's just an easy joke. It really has nothing to do with what the movie's actually saying. And again, about the words coincidence. If you really want a drinking game, drink every time somebody says, I know it's not a coincidence in this series. And so until we meet again for season 5, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for participating. Everybody who's given support to the channel. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and do that. Hit subscribe, hit like, pass this to people, go back and watch it and tell me how we could do it better. And I'll talk to you guys on the flip side. Catch you next day.